Folks, I can tell you I've known 8 presidents, 3 of them intimately. Corruption is a cancer that eats away at a citizen's faith in democracy, diminishes the instinct for innovation and creativity. Already tight national budgets, crowding out important national investments. It wastes the talent of entire generations. It scares away investments and jobs. Our future cannot depend on the government alone. The ultimate solutions lie in the attitudes and the actions of the American people. The greatest gift is the ability to forget the bad things and focus on the good. If you need more than 10 rounds to hunt, and some argue they hunt with that many rounds, you shouldn't be hunting. If you can't get the deer in 3 shots, you shouldn't be hunting. You are an embarrassment. We didn't crumble after 9/11. We didn't falter after the Boston Marathon. But we're America. Americans will never, ever stand down. We endure. We overcome. We own the finish line. For any young democracy, the most difficult but important step is burying the legacy of tyranny and establishing an economy and a government and institutions that abide by the rule of law. Every country faces challenges to the rule of law, including my own. When the stock market crashed, Franklin Roosevelt got on the television and didn't just talk about the princes of greed. He said, "Look, here's what happened." No fundamental social change occurs merely because government acts. It's because civil society, the conscience of a country, begins to rise up and demand change. My dad always said, "Champ, the measure of a man is not how often he is knocked down, but how quickly he gets up." The 21st century is going to be the American century, because we lead not only by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. That is the history of the journey of America. Now, people, when I say that, look at me and say, "What are you talking about, Joe? You're telling me we have to go spend money to keep from going bankrupt." The answer is yes, that's what I'm telling you. Foreign policy is like human relations, only people know less about each other. America's experience, like many others, teaches us that fostering entrepreneurship is not just about crafting the right economic policy or developing the best educated curricula. It's about creating an entire climate in which innovation and ideas flourish. ISIS is not an existential threat to something happening to someone in the United States of America. It's a serious problem overseas, but it's confusing and frightening. Al-Qaeda is almost all in Pakistan, and Pakistan has nuclear weapons. And yet for every dollar we're spending in Pakistan, we're spending $30 in Afghanistan. Does that make strategic sense? Let me tell you what I literally told every world leader I've met with, and I've met them all. It's never been a good bet to bet against America. We have the finest fighting force in the world. You are twice as likely to be struck by lightning as you are to be affected by a terrorist event in the United States. You get a lawyer whether you're in a military tribunal or whether you're in a federal court. Number 1. The Attorney General decided that the court with the biggest, with the greatest venue, with the best jurisdiction was the New York court. That was the right decision to make. My dad used to have an expression: it is the lucky person who gets up in the morning, puts both feet on the floor, knows what they are about to do, and thinks it still matters. I exaggerate when I'm angry, but I've never gone around telling people things that aren't true about me. I've known and continue to know every one of these major world leaders by their first names, and I have access to them. When we wrote the Constitution, the intention was to give the Commander-in-Chief the authority how to use the forces when you authorize him to be able to use the forces. You know, my grandpop Finnegan used to have an expression. He used to say, "Joey, the guy in Oliphant's out of work, it's an economic slowdown. When your brother-in-law's out of work, it's a recession. When you're out of work, it's a depression." The only thing I know is I ain't changing my brand. I know what I believe. I'm confident in what I know, and I'm gonna say it. And if folks like it, wonderful. If they don't like it, I understand. The United States supports a strong, united Ukraine with productive and peaceful relationships with both the East and the West, with both Russia and Europe. Folks, you're the reason that the automobile industry is back. Whether it was the wage freezes, the plant closures, folks, you sacrificed to keep your companies open. Because of your productivity, the combined auto companies have committed to invest another $23 billion in expansion in America. In my neighborhood, when you've got something to say to a guy, you look him in the eye and you say it to him. Nowhere is it written that there must be conflict between the United States and China. I was kind of secretly hoping one of my kids would go out and make $1 million. So when they put me in a home, at least I'll have a window with a view. No matter how you cut it, this real debate on personal accounts is about the legitimacy of Social Security. It's not about the solvency of Social Security. I have never left another senator out to dry. Never. It's overwhelmingly in the self-interest of the United States of America to have a secure, democratic friend, a strategic partner like Israel. I support immediate financial assistance to the newly elected Palestinian president. Now, I don't know what those numbers will be, and I don't know how it's going to be framed. Just talk to me as a father, not what the Constitution says. What do you feel? The Recovery Act is working, but it's going to continue to work. It's not over. A lot's going to happen this summer, and even after the summer, there's more to come with the act. You know, we're going to control the insurance companies. Remember, no one decides who they're going to vote for based on the vice president. I mean that literally. If you're in a confined aircraft, when one person sneezes, it goes all the way through the aircraft. Other than being crazy enough to press a button, there is nothing that Putin can do militarily to fundamentally alter American interests. 2 million felons have tried to buy a gun and, because of the background check, have been denied. We're close friends, the American people, the Israeli people, our governments. There's absolutely no daylight, none, between us and the Israelis on the question of Israel's security. People everywhere in the world are hungry for economic opportunity. And it's about a lot more than being able to make money. I know why we're strong. I know why we have held together. I know why we are united. It's because there's always been a growing middle class. There's only one person in this race who will be there, who's always been there for you, and that's Hillary Clinton's life story. Social Security's not the hard one to solve. Medicare, that is the gorilla in the room, and you've got to put all of it on the table.